everybody out there in Space Quest 6 commentary land. Apparently there is such a thing. I'm your host, Chris Pope, and I'm here really excited to bring to you guys another commentary with the two guys from Andromeda, and we have a special guest I'm about to announce. But let's start out with Scott Murphy. Scott Murphy, how you doing?
I'm just wonderful.
Just wonderful. Excellent. And then, of course, Mark Crow. How are you doing?
Hey, everybody. Doing great.
Excellent. And we have a special guest. Very, very pleased to announce that we have Josh Mandel. Josh Mandel, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and I am incredibly honored to be here with the two guys.
Awesome.
Yay, Josh, for being here. We're the ones that are honored. We are so grateful that you are able to make it, and I think the fans will appreciate this a great deal. So thank you.
Yes.
Great to have you, Josh.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time.
You're all welcome.
It's
the check's in the mail.
Yes.
There you go. Mark, you weren't supposed to, or Scott, you weren't supposed to say that, man. We can't let everybody know where all the Kickstarter money's going. Jeez, what's wrong with you? Great stuff, man. Really excited. I do have a couple of announcements to run through real quick with everybody who's here. First thing and foremost, you guys have been asking for the audio and the video for the Justin TV playthroughs, or pre-recorded, I should say, feed. Yes, Justin TV still has problems with the Skype feed through, but I have all the audio backed up. I have now officially set up a site for you guys where you can get all of that. If you go to commentary.guysfromandromeda.com, it will take you there, and you will get everything you want. Yes, yeah, it's that magic. 1 through 5 is there. We just put that up. We've also got the transcript, thanks to a couple of wonderful guys. I see one of them right there, David, enter chat room, David6858. It's out there. Space Quest 3 with Ken and Roberta, the transcript. I completely jumbled those words up, but hopefully it made some sense for you guys. Yeah, commentary.guysfromandromeda.com or commentaries.guysfromandromeda.com. Either way will get you there. And please don't leave us right now. We gave you the link not to get rid of you. Once the videos and everything are rendered with higher quality, the videos will be up there as well. Right now, the audio's there, and then you can click the Justin TV link to watch the video, and you can listen to the audio with it. But we got better quality versions coming, I promise, guys. I promise. We also have new rewards chart up there. Thanks to Brad Herbert. Oh my gosh, Brad is amazing. He's also him and his buddies are the ones that created the wonderful intro for us. For the video Kickstarter video. Oh my gosh, I'm twisting words all day, all kinds of craziness.
Aren't you supposed to be like the cool veteran on this?
I know. Maybe it's because you guys have gotten used to it. Maybe I do need some coffee. Yes, that's it. Anyway,
Yeah.
guys. Also, one last announcement to make. Really excited. Ellen McLean will be joining me today at 12 p.m. Pacific time. That's 3 p.m. Eastern time. And that's in 3 hours from now. Ellen McLean is the voice of GLaDOS from Portal 1 and Portal 2. She's done voice work in Half-Life for Valve. Let's see, Team Fortress 2. She's married to John Patrick Lowry, who's also a very established voice actor. We'll have him on there as well. Anyway, 3 p.m., that's 3 hours from now, or 12 p.m. Pacific time, if you want to hang out for that, and that'll be recorded also. Okay. As Forrest would say, that's all I'm going to say about that. Alright, so let's get moving. Here we go. Alright, so Josh, I guess the beginning of this is going to be a little bit for you here, because I think you were given the Space Quest 6 project. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how that started?
Sure. Originally, Ken and Bill Davis, who was the creative director, had proposed to us that we were going to be doing Space Quest 5, so we had generated mostly Bruce Balfour and myself had generated a number of concepts for Space Quest 5, and then of course it ended up going to Dynamics and Mark. So this was Space Quest 6 was based on one of those concepts that had originally been developed or Space Quest 5. And what I what I had done was I had looked at all the Space Quest games, and my favorite Space Quest game was Space Quest 3. And I wanted to do something that was actually reminiscent of Space Quest 3, and yet not repetitive. And the part of Space Quest 3 that I loved so much was when you could go from planet to planet, and each one of the planets was different. Each could be explored to some extent. You could find things and use them for, by going from one planet to the next. And I thought, how can I do that without making it seem like a retread of Space Quest 3? And what I eventually thought of was the series had never, as far as I could tell, done anything that touched on Fantastic Voyage, which was that 1960s, I think Isaac Asimov had something to do with it, or was it Arthur C. Clarke? I can't remember now.
I think you're right, Jeff.
One or the other, where there's a patient who has a brain tumor, I think it was, and this team of scientists gets shrunk down into microscopic size and injected into the body. And I thought, well, it says Space Quest. It doesn't say Outer Space Quest. It could be Inner Space Quest. And each one of the organs in the body could be treated as a planet. So you could have something like the dynamic in Space Quest 3, where you can go from planet to planet, but you're actually going from organ to organ. And each one of them is like the surface of some huge planet, since you're microscopic in size. And that's kind of where all the ideas started, and it all sort of generated from that.
Oh yeah, that's great though. Yeah, I loved that whole storyline and stuff, and then that you brought that into Space Quest 6. It was really cool, really really neat stuff. Great idea. Wow. Well, so you originally you moved in with Space Quest 6. You started working on that and coming up with a lot of the ideas and stuff like that for it, and eventually I think you had left Sierra, and then Scott had taken over. If the story is correct there. But you headed up a lot of the beginning of it, getting the team together and all that. Am I right?
That's right. Now Scott was actually there for all of this, although I think his attention was pulled onto other projects at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But as I would generate any given piece of the design, I would hand it off to Scott and say, I want you to look at this and make sure that it feels Space Questy. But
I like that.
So that I wasn't going too far afield, with no input. But yeah, the team, I don't remember some of the team, because at that point at Sierra, we were going through new managers. Like every 4 months, there would be a new manager, and they'd bring a whole new approach to the whole development effort, and it was a very confusing and chaotic time at the company. I felt anyway. I
Boy,
don't know.
howdy. Oh yeah. So bad.
But I did manage to get on the team most of the people that I'd worked with on Freddie Farkas, Steve Conrad and Bill Shockley, and I was thrilled to have them on the team. And I think Mike Hutchinson was the art lead, and I had never gotten to work with him, but I loved working with him. He was
Great guy.
very talented and very responsive, and had a lot of great ideas.
Yeah, I think he's in Austin now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I heard that. Right.
Yeah, but very even-tempered guy, really talented. You're right, and that the opening you guys made for that game was just killer. It was just awesome.
I got a lot of heat for that. We all did, because in space. Was it Space Quest 2 with the jockstrap puzzle,
Yes.
or Space Quest 1? It was 2.
It was one of
Um,
them.
well,
It was
I
two.
guess
It was two.
I guess you guys had gotten a letter of complaint from some mom who now had to explain to her child what a jockstrap was. Was that the situation?
Yeah, it was so ridiculous. It was so stupid. I can't
So-
believe you guys have done this to us. Now I have to explain to my son what an athletic supporter is. Do you realize how
Hey,
damaging it's
we
going to be
saved
to
her.
us?
We saved her the trouble because eventually she was going to have to explain it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
His PE coach is going to say, "Son, you're gonna have to get a jockstrap. Gonna have to get a cup. Life's tough." And so, Mom, what's a jockstrap? Oh,
So-
son, you don't need to know about that. Yes, I do, Mom.
So when the head of marketing at Sierra found out that the deep ship looked like a jockstrap, he had a fit. He came upstairs and said, "You can't do this. We got all these letters. We got all this negativity. You can't possibly. You have to rethink it. It can't look like a jockstrap." And I just sort of took the approach that, yeah, maybe if I don't do anything about it, maybe if I don't make any waves or something, this whole problem will just pass. And sure enough, months later, when I had already left the company and I was opening up gaming magazines and Interaction and seeing ads for the game, they all featured the deep ship very prominently. So I figured somehow the marketing department had come to terms with the
whole letter.
jockstrap image. Yeah. Yeah,
That was
exactly.
brilliant, by the way. I loved it because
Yeah.
it's very
was-
reminiscent.
Yeah, it was
I mean,
great.
it looks just like what you would see in the later Star Trek episode or Star
In
Trek
2000
show.
and the 2000 the epic 2001 opening where the monkey, where the ape throws the bone into the air, just like they threw the jockstrap and it becomes a ship, and then all of a sudden you go from the from the African plains to space. It was epic to me because of being a 2001 fan.
Right.
And just it was just done so well. It also reminded me of the old Branded TV show with Chuck Connors, where he had a story of a man who ran, and they stripped him. They'd ripped off all of his army patches, and they left him with a rifle or something like that, and that was it. It was.
Yeah, I
it was
definitely got the reference.
you have to go way back in time to find that one, but I was a little kid when that was on. But it was just so cool, and the dialogue and the timing, the art, everything was just spot on.
That was I think one of the very first things that got done was that opening, and the demo, and the one of the things we worked on, I remember, for quite a while, starting at the very beginning, was that image of the little silver rocket ship going around the Sierra planet
Oh right, I forgot.
at
Yes.
the very beginning.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, we worked for a long time on that.
really cool
Yeah,
stuff.
a bit of a retro touch. I like that.
Yeah, I thought you would, Mark.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I don't want to sidetrack anything, but you did mention Freddy Farkas, and I have to say I really enjoyed that game as well. I know you worked really, really hard on that. I know Al, Al was part of that, and all that. I think you did a lot of the humor, if I'm not mistaken, for that game also. Am I right about that?
Right. I did. Yeah, I did most of the text and dialogue and the ballads. Which, when I wanted to do the ballads, everyone looked at me like I was a little bit nuts because at the time SCI didn't have a way. There was no way in SCI to coordinate. Oh my gosh, there's that picture. Oh boy, I remember that. Yeah, there was no way to coordinate the bouncing ball with the lyrics, but Al, to his credit, almost any time I suggested something, he said, "Look, if you can make it happen, then go for it." And Bill Shockley and Steve Conrad and Cindy Brown, Cindy Swafford back then, I think, they were great. They came through in hours doing things that people had thought would take weeks or months to accomplish. So it was really a pleasure working with them.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. I've always felt like you. It felt to me like you didn't get enough credit for that game. You did an absolute amazing job with it, though. I really enjoyed playing it. Actually, and I know I've said this many times on here. I got to visit Oakhurst, and it was one of the few games I had not bought yet, and they gave me a copy of it.
Oh,
So
good.
I actually played a copy that I got from the Oakhurst branch there back in 1996 when I had visited, and I just had a blast with it. So again, completely props to you for doing such a great job to that. Like I said, I've always felt like you didn't get enough credit for it when you played a huge role in making that game what it was.
I
Well,
remember
well,
seeing your
thank
spreadsheet of the inventory items and all the things like that. The
right,
chart
right.
that you labored over, and it was, your attention to detail was just amazing. Whereas Mark and I were a little less disciplined.
Well, I was coming from a background where I had cut my teeth really on the Infocom games, and the Infocom games did such a fantastic job of anticipating any single thing that you might try and giving you a customized response for it. For me, that was always one of the great delights of these games, and so that carried over to everything I tried to do at Sierra, and then later on at Legend and so on.
Hmm.
To always try to max out the responses.
Yeah, really great stuff, man. Well, the
Yeah,
box art
definitely.
here is beautiful. I think
And such a nice change of pace from the other games.
looking at the back of the box here, this is really cool. So this is where we started getting SVGA graphics at this point. Um, Really cool stuff. 3D animations. Do you remember who made the box? Who created the box art for this? I think you
I
might have
don't.
mentioned.
Scott, to you, because that was done after.
It was a cluster, if you will. There's
Hmm.
another word that goes after that. Um, but they hired a guy based on his portfolio of ski photos. I believe the man was from
Ah,
Canada. He had some really beautiful work, and he drew a mean ski glove. And if you look at the front
right.
of the box, that glove that Roger's wearing is just beautiful. But then you look from the wrist back, and it's like, huh? And I so and I was stunned. They had already signed the guy. I mean, no, I didn't get an opportunity to say, well, this guy, nah, yeah, this guy. We didn't get that opportunity
Mhm.
to choose somebody. Somebody made the decision for us in marketing, or whichever. You know how it was, Josh. We were talking about the revolving door of people
Right.
in the front, and it was just, I was like, "Wow, you guys hired a guy on how he could draw a glove, you know? Yeah, that's what Space Quest was all about, that glove, and
Now, if it had
it
been
was
a
just
key
beautiful.
card, that would have been different.
Yeah, but I mean, I have to admit they didn't do a bad job of the back of the box. I mean, they included some good stuff. They have a Stooge fighter and the crashed ship inside Stellar Santiago, and Fester in his newer Endeavor, and then the cool rendered spaceship. So at least that was done some decent justice, I think. But
And
yeah,
I love that line, in space no one can hear you clean. That was
yeah,
I think that was Leslie Balfour came up with that
it
one.
had to be
And
because I don't doubt that. I'm sorry, John.
no, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think you're right about that because Leslie definitely helped me out a lot through the project too, as well. I'd say, oh, Leslie, I'm stumped on this, and she'd say, okay, well, wait a minute, I'll be back in a while, and she'd come back with a page of stuff, and it was like, wow, I was amazed, but it was a really rough time for me personally, and all that. I was struggling even more than normal, and but yeah, I wouldn't doubt it because Leslie would never written something like "May the Farce be with you" or something like that, like showed up on some of our other boxes. It's
Yeah,
Leslie,
she's
great.
excellent.
Yeah, definitely a great writer, and she really pulled my bacon out of the fire a few times.
Yeah, really cool, man. Well, forgive me for
Is
sidetracking
that
this
right?
yet again, but um, I wanted to say thank you for the 242 guys. They sent us all these cool towels, and I was blown away because Mark actually took a picture without his shirt on with this towel on, and I thought I
Oh,
thought
come
maybe
on.
you guys might want to check this out. This is pretty amazing. I mean, I had no idea that Mark was in this kind of shape. Um,
You're embarrassing me, Chris.
well, I mean, you got up. I mean, props to you,
Wow.
Mark. You really had to work hard for
Is
that.
is he cut or what?
Yeah, that's pretty buff, man.
I mean, I
I'm
know
not
you
talking
work hard for
circumcision.
that.
If you zoom in, you can see his third nipple.
Source of pride for many years.
Yeah,
It-
apparently they
it-
have a towel day holiday there in the Netherlands.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
also we wanted to show some respect to Ray Bradbury, who passed away today. Here is a picture of him. Scott, do you want to say anything about Ray? You were a big fan, I think.
Definitely. Ray Bradbury's it's something I don't think I've mentioned in the past, but Martian Chronicles was I read Fahrenheit 451 after that, but Martian Chronicles, the way that he wrote and I read his book before I ever saw an Infocom game, but I could imagine those glass cities and all the wonderful all the awesome stories that he had in that book. That if you haven't read this if you haven't read Martian Chronicles and you're a sci-fi fan, you owe it to yourself to go out and find that book. I mean, he had some other ones that were a little more hardcore, like I said, Fahrenheit 451 and so on. The Illustrated Man, which has a wonderful set of short stories in it. And but Martian Chronicles was one that really made my mind kind of just ring. It just really resonated with me in an incredible way. And it's a great loss. He lived a long life though, and he wrote some great stuff. And there were a lot of things made based on his story ideas and so on. Uh, so yeah, I can't think of much more to say other than it's a shame, but hopefully he led a wonderful long life.
All right. Well, I guess we should go ahead and get started with the actual commentary itself with the game. Guys, I'm going to have to do the same thing I did yesterday with Space Quest 5. This is a big game. These guys wanted to give you your money's worth. So there's quite a few videos to go through. I'm going to have to kind of skip through a bit. It is going to seem like the video's skipping because, well, it is skipping. I'll be skipping through it to try to keep us moving along through the repetitive stuff as much as we can. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, more along the lines of we don't want these guys to be sitting here for 6 hours, and I don't know if you guys want to sit here for 6 hours. But it's an amazing game. I think we'll get a good look at it, and I'll kind of have some of the audio muted down a good bit so that you guys can hear them talk, and I may up the audio sometimes for that as well. And then don't forget, we'll have this placed out there. If you know, the sound and all that will be there. It'll be placed out there on commentary.guysfromandromeda.com for your listening pleasure. So without further ado, let's get going. Should be loading here for you guys any second. Any second. There we go.
Oh, shout out to Ken Allen, who I think is in the crowd.
Yeah.
My favorite Sierra composer.
Yes, Ken is very, very awesome.
Where are you hiding out, Jenny?
All right, so here we go, guys. Video should be streaming good now. I may play a little bit of the intro.
Has reached its decision. Roger Wilco, please step forward.
So great.
Roger Wilco, you have been judged guilty of the following crimes: abandoning your post, deviating from mission parameters, misuse of Starcon property, disintegrating a fellow officer, perpetrating a sequel without authorization, and consorting with a female of higher rank. Do you have anything to say for yourself before we pronounce sentence?
Can't you guys take a joke?
Do you have anything intelligent to say for yourself before we pronounce sentence?
Nope.
Very well. It is the opinion of this tribunal that as punishment for your crimes against the Starcon Federation, you are to be decommissioned. You are hereby stripped of the rank of captain. You are no longer an officer of the Starcon Federation. Your enrollment at Starcon Academy is hereby terminated. However, due to your successful return of the SCS Eureka, your rescue of the Goliath's crew, and the fact that nobody gets rid of stubborn mildew stains and black heel marks as well as you do, we are returning you to your former post with Starcon Fleet. You are hereby ordered to resume your duties immediately as janitor second class on board the SCS Deep Ship 86.
86. It's great.
That's good stuff.
I love the notion that your jockstrap can be removed by pulling it hard enough. It can be removed intact without stepping out of it if you just pull it hard enough.
That's a great invention.
Amazingly enough. No
Oh,
one
by the
ever
way,
really
there, guys,
reflected
the dig on Space Quest 5 wasn't lost on me there.
What? A dick? Which
dig.
one?
Which one?
No, nothing was intended as a dig.
It was continuity. Is that right, Josh?
Well, I for my part, because the original game, the original proposal had been for him to be a janitor, I thought, oh, we got to get him back to being a janitor again. Is that what you're talking about, Mark?
Oh, no, I'm just giving you a bad time. It's all in fun.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, you absolutely had to get it back to. That's the deal with Roger. He could never escape his janitorial roots. He's always getting pulled back
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
in one
Thank you.
way or another.
That reminds me, the magazine that we put in the box. My original name for that no one would go for was Janitalia.
Being sanitation hotspot.
Well, that's a shame.
Yeah. Oh man, I would have fought for that if I'd have had my wits about me, and I honestly don't remember seeing that, or I think that would have stuck in my nasty ass head. Are usually assortment plugging, prodding, scraping, and buttons and buffing materials.
What was the 3D rendered in? Gavin FX is asking, what was the 3D rendered in? Do you remember, Scott?
No, I don't. We'd have only. I think only Mike would know that. Honestly.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what
MS
those
Paint. Somebody said.
they were using. I don't know what wireframe program they were using to do that stuff with, but they did definitely pulled it off. This is really smooth if you got, of course, if you have the right speed computer and good graphics card, but it still looks beautiful.
Energize.
I could have definitely cast a better Roger.
robot when he gets
Yeah.
material as he hits the computer. All right, we're gonna hear the man with the golden pipes.
There's an interesting
As we
thing
join our
on
hero,
in the
Roger
upper right,
Wilco, he is
Oak and
just
Rush Street, Mark. I mean, Josh and I have roots there.
Say that again.
Oak
Scott?
and Rush Streets on the street sign. Josh and I both have roots in a place that has that intersection.
Oh, cool. That's a neat piece of trivia.
Oh, great.
Chic.
Real wonderful. Nice beam job, you metallic piece of scrap. Jeez, this is snug. Real snug. You know, it actually makes me feel kind of good. I remember when I used to wear my mom's... well, never mind. No time for nostalgia. I've got a serious extraction problem to work out first.
All right. I'm gonna kind of.
This guy looks like a vertically challenged Darth Vader. What does a thing like that do for fun?
I loved what
Hey, that one looks familiar. It lacks a bit.
was it Bill Shockley who programmed the marquee on the theater to change every time you came into the room?
Yeah, I believe so.
It sounds like something he and I would do.
Yeah, definitely. It had to be
And-
guys.
And if I recall, didn't he propose to his wife using that marquee?
That I don't know.
Oh wow, that's cool.
I think so. I think there was some sequence of events where if you clicked on this and clicked on that, it was a proposal.
Wow.
I'll have to ask Bill about that.
That has to be a first ever in gaming.
Yeah, probably.
A lot of people did it like at baseball stadiums and football stadiums and so on, but how many people did it on a marquee in an adventure game?
Right.
Very clever. I never saw it. Honestly, I would definitely have said, "Yeah, way to go, Bill." And Bill put a lot of great touches in here and there. You know, he'd come to me with things and I'd say, "Well, yeah, that's pretty good."
You pop a
Or
coin in the slot and
I'd say,
climb on
no,
in.
maybe not quite that, but right now. And then then I give him a reason why, and not just say, "No, go away, program," because he would come and he would really think things through, and so there are a lot of touches in here that Bill added that are that I know Josh and I are both grateful for.
Yep.
Yeah, I really love the graphical look of this game. You guys did an excellent job on that. Definitely, an evolution of the whole series as far as the look and everything. I like the use of the 3D stuff you guys incorporated in there.
Yeah, great stuff.
It was kind of groundbreaking. Yeah, with the 3D ships and the cut scenes and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was all under Mike's
that was-
direction.
That's right. It was so exciting to see that coming together. I mean, I missed most of it, but what I saw before I left, it just took my breath away.
Yes, Mike's he's a relatively quiet and humble guy, and he would break this stuff out, and it's like, how can you not be more excited about this? I was thinking in my head, this is beautiful, dude. But it was nice to not have some guy that was just loaded up with ego and saying, well, yeah, I wanted to do this, but I didn't think you guys would go for it, or something like that. He would just produce the stuff. He would just do his job, and he would do it so well. He was such a pleasure to work with, and such a great guy to just hang with too, socially. Back then we both had a common crush on Paula Cole when she was hot in music.
Oh yeah.
Actually, she toured with Peter Gabriel on his secret world tour, and she was so great in that. But we both had this weird crush on her. That was long before he met his wife and got married.
Was there a
And
silent?
he's with-
Somebody asked about a silent running reference. Did you guys have one of the silent running robots in there? We were talking about that yesterday.
Oh right. I can't
Yes.
remember.
Reading one of the
the
comments.
robots was. That's right. Yeah,
Yeah, Mark and I
one of the robots did look like that was intentional.
Mark and I had a very had as we spoke yesterday had a very emotional reaction to those robots. They really they really got to us. Bill recorded these sound effects with a really crappy headset.
That's delightfully non-helpful.
I love the little creature that's living in the ashtray, man. It's such a neat little addition to this scene.
It's very casino like from the old days. Yeah, Bill. I mean, he had this really crappy little thing that that was even cheaper than something that would come with a Walkman, and he just plugged he plugged instead of plugging it into the out port, he plugged into the in port and recorded right through the head, the earphone. It was brilliant.
Hey guys, had there been any advancements in the animation software that was used to create the game? I mean, where they weren't using the old I even forget what they called it, the animation editor that we used in the earlier games.
That's a tough one. What Josh and I are still wondering is what the rendering engine was used for that did the 3D and how they incorporated. But yeah, I think I was so in over my head once I came aboard on that I didn't even notice. They had so much art already done. Mike had really been hitting his projections and stuff like that as far as when things were due. I'm sorry, Josh, I don't mean to talk over you there.
Me? Oh.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna respond to David 6858 who asks Scott and Josh who was behind the hookah hose. Took me literally weeks. That would be me. But I'm not giving you my name in address. Oh well, I guess you got my name.
Now.
Busted.
See,
Josh Mandel's his alias.
we had gotten a lot of responses on the warranty cards when people would return them to the effect that the Space Quest games were too easy. So I made a deliberate effort to ramp up the difficulty a little bit, and I know that a lot of people would like to flog me for that. And I might even enjoy that, but nevertheless, it was probably a mistake in retrospect to mess with a winning formula.
I never saw those warranty cards, so I never saw that. All I saw was the survey from Space Quest 3 and the approval rating that we got on it. And the fact that all of a sudden I never saw any more surveys after that because I think they thought it went to our heads. But yeah.
It was interesting. At one point before we started working on Space Quest 6, Ken had said, because we had collected those warranty cards for years and years, and I don't think anyone ever took a look at them. I was seeing a woman who worked in the marketing department at the time, and she would amass the results and create these reports, and no one ever did anything with them. And one of the things that Ken learned when he finally paid some attention was that only about 25% who played the games ever finished them.
Yeah.
And that's when he said the game that was starting up right at that time was Leisure Suit Larry 5.
Oh yeah.
So Ken said to Al, you have to create this game so that everybody can finish it. Even a 5-year-old can finish it. And that's why Larry 5 turned out so incredibly easy. And while we got a lot of response to the game, we got a lot of people writing in saying, I finally finished a Sierra game, thank you. We got a lot of heat from longtime fans who said this is way too easy. This is not what we expect from Sierra games. So it was an experiment, and we sort of moved back away from it again.
Yeah, we went in Space Quest 3 to be able to be finished by as many people as possible. To see everything that we put in it, because it's a shame people do so much work, and while you're trying to please a group of people that are adventure game purists and really hardcore gamers, you also have other people who play a lot of games, and they end up just throwing the discs back in the box and shoving the box up on the shelf in frustration. And so with Space Quest 3, we tried to be we really wanted people to get to the end of the game, and I know for some people it was too easy, and for some people it was just right. It was it was like the Three Bears kind of a scenario, and it's just it's just like so many things. You can't please everybody, but we really wanted people to be able to feel like they'd seen everything that was available to them, and then go back and find more ways to die. Of course, that sadism that we both enjoyed so much.
Right. Ken Allen is asking me to explain why there was no Leisure Suit Larry 4. I think it was just because Al had finished Larry 3, and in his mind the series was over at that point, and Larry had found happiness, and so when they said we want a Larry 4, he said I don't want to work on a Larry 4, and just as a joke he said I think I'll work on Larry 5 instead, and it just took off from there. So there was never a Larry 4.
Must have driven a lot of store people crazy, going, there isn't a Larry 4.
I think that's exactly right.
Don't you people read?
A pretty gruesome death coming up here. You get ripped out of your... It's great.
Stop appealing to the masses for their money.
Yeah.
Mark Heelan. And your suggestion to do other... what would your suggestion be to appeal to the masses?
Right.
Pixel Hunt.
Yeah. The Pixel Hunt.
This, of course, was all inspired by Terminator 2.
Yeah. That was out around this time, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Maybe this came out of...
it probably was.
It was still fresh in
I
mind,
remember
that's
at the beginning of the... I came up with a list of sci-fi films and books and other seminal works that really hadn't been touched on yet by the Space Quest series, and I tried to at least somehow pay lip service to a lot of the films and franchises that had never been parodied in this Space Quest series before. So
He said seminal. Sorry. Sorry, I'm so juvenile. Yeah, look, I'm looking into Terminator came out in '91 and Space Quest shipped in '96, but it was obviously in development way before '96.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely fresh in people's minds, especially those awesome effects that they had.
Yep.
So it was definitely the hottest game in people's minds at that time. I mean, hottest movie. I'm sorry.
Scott, you're just saying what we're all thinking.
Really got him, man.
Okay. I've been accused of that.
I really got him. And I could really use 50 buckasaurs.
It's usually Scott is saying what we're all
Tell you
afraid
what.
to say out loud.
Exactly.
We had,
No, I need the money now, or I let the guy
like,
fall
no
right
need to
out.
say
we had
that,
an
Scott will
interview
say it.
yesterday with a really cool guy, with a guy from SideQuest, and I mentioned something about because something that happened the day before, and as Marcus told me and told others, I tend to wear my heart on my sleeve, and I realized my arm was getting pretty heavy. And and after the other day, it all of a sudden I could lift my arm a little better, and
Uh, a lot of the look and feel of this area was really kind of uh, prompted by Blade Runner. I mean, we also have the character, was it Blaine Romer, I think, but really the whole dark edge to it with the neon that stands out. A few people have mentioned the heavy use of neon in here, as contrasted against the murky rundown look that was all sort of tribute to Blade Runner.
Yeah, one of my favorite movies. By the way, is the Bradbury building in there?
Oh, I don't know, but I know there's a reference to him here in Bootlickers.
there's a bunch of references in here, and a lot of them, honestly, Josh, I didn't get because you guys just nailed, you and Leslie, I think it was I think it was Leslie, you said, to help you with this. Just so many things there. I went, huh? I mean, I just felt stupid. It's like me,
Yeah,
I'm supposed to be Mr.
almost
Sci-Fi
every
fan
bottle
here. I am
here.
totally out of touch.
Every
I'd like a bottle of your cold
yeah,
Syrian
Ray's Brad Brewberry. That's Brad Brewery. That's right, Ray's Brad Brewery. Yeah, almost every bottle gives you a different label, and they are all references to sci-fi authors and their works. I was going to say seminal works, but I've already been there. I love the drunk ET.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
He keeps sticking his finger up.
bobbing his big heavy head, popping his finger up.
I'm
like the
still waiting
monochrome
for
with
it.
the
Oh yeah,
inventory screen.
I was going to say I'm anxiously awaiting ET coming out on Blu-ray. It really needs to.
Yeah, I hope they do it justice.
Amazingly, I've never seen that movie. And,
Really?
yeah. I had this thing about when movies came out and they were overly popular. I intentionally didn't go and see them. I know that sounds really stupid.
I understand. No, I understand the feeling, and I'm the same way. I lucked out with ET though, because I was living in Chicago, and we saw this thing in the newspaper that just said preview of a new Steven Spielberg movie, and we knew nothing about it. So we went to see it having zero expectations, and we all came out. I went with like 5 or 6 other friends. We all came out of the movie crying and smiling and thinking, boy, I hope people hear about this movie. This is a pretty good movie.
Hope people hear about it. Yeah, this should really get some attention. Obviously, there have been so many spoofs and stuff like that on ET and through the years and stuff that it's not like I'm totally ignorant to it. But yeah, I fully intend to. Oh, that's cool. I just saw a spider eat an ant on my wall.
Just because we were on the
the
subject
South.
of Blade Runner a minute ago, and Ray Bradbury.
And I think it's
how
the
many
30th
people
or
actually
35th
know that
anniversary.
the building in Blade Runner, the Bradbury, is a real building in downtown LA where they actually filmed that sequence.
Wow, is it named after Ray Bradbury or?
Nope.
Oh.
That's that's.
Is that the cool building with the wrought iron elevator? And,
Yes.
and
You
walkway
can go
and the
down to
wood
downtown
walkways and
LA
stuff.
and tour it.
That isn't. Yeah, that's been in several movies, but wow, yeah, that thing's a landmark for sure.
Just quite a coinky-dink that it was featured in the movie and that it was called the Bradbury Building.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was playing the Kevin Bacon game there.
Yeah,
Well,
Blade Runner isn't Blade Runner's 30th anniversary coming up here. I think this pretty soon. I think they have something planned for it.
Well, there's talk of a sequel, and I'm pretty excited about that. Or a prequel, I should say.
Huh.
That should be interesting. Yeah.
By the way, just got my Prometheus tickets for the midnight showing tomorrow night. I'm pretty excited.
You bastard. Yeah, I'm going to go by myself with my cat. No, actually, I don't have a cat anymore, but
I'll text you during the movie, though, Scott.
yeah, if you could do that for me, I'd appreciate it. And I'll
Yeah.
fire back questions.
We still got to get the cardboard cutouts for you guys to take with you.
Still want the
You put your arm around one.
blow-up dolls. Yeah, the blow-up dolls come in handy because you can use them in the high occupancy lanes on freeways.
Incredible View is asking, did you ever come across the Blade Runner game? And although I've never played it, the Sierra connection there is that Jim Walls worked on that game.
No kidding.
Yep.
Wow.
I don't-
would never.
I don't know what
Yeah.
I don't know what he did on it, but he's credited on it.
That's
What was the first Tex Murphy game that was basically based on the Blade Runner? Very Blade Runner-like.
Was that Martian Memorandum, or is it the one before that?
I think it was the one before that.
Under
But
Killing
That was the first
Mean
Tex Murphy
Streets.
game I
Mean
played.
Streets. That was the first one. Lightspeed.
Mean Streets, that's it.
I am 3HDDM. 3HDD
Dylan, be
monkey
quiet, little man.
says that the
I've
Vault
got
actually
some
played a
things to
character.
finish before I finish you.
Well, that dude's brawny.
I don't.
Very long. And as is quantities of that new imported equipment and cups. Don't get all excited, Little Red Riding Hood. You aren't out of those woods yet.
I love the blow up doll with 3 boobs.
Yeah.
That's great.
That wasn't my
You
idea.
carefully lay the rug on the floor. Even though you
I-
were never known for your interior decorating talents, you feel very satisfied with the location you have chosen.
The 3 boobs wasn't my idea either. That had to have been one of the artists.
Oh, those artists. Was Karen on the project? Karen Lester?
I don't know.
She's just twisted enough. That's why.
Yes, she
that's why I
is.
suggested it. She's a lumberjack and she doesn't care. We were talking about it. We were Facebooking about a Monty Python thing, and somehow that came up, and I sent her a lumberjack T-shirt, a really big one. She likes them really, really huge. And so she's got a Monty Python "I'm a lumberjack and I don't care" T-shirt now.
Yep, the homing beacon puzzle is coming up.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
that was way beyond me. That was the puzzle that I could never come up with.
Admiral von Snugglesworth is asking who came up with the homing beacon puzzle, and that was another one that I had come up with in an attempt to create a kind of a logic puzzle that couldn't or wasn't ordinarily done in a Sierra game, but which was fairly common in the Infocom games. Of course, it's pretty well known by now that all of the clues were supposed to be in the game itself, not in the documentation, so it wasn't meant as copy protection the way some people took it. But I really like the idea of putting a logic puzzle where you actually might have to sit down with a pencil and paper for a few minutes and work it out. And if you did it that way, it wasn't hard at all. In fact, I tried to make it fairly easy, and I remember QA looking at the looking at the puzzle and saying, no, this is going to be too difficult. So I added more and more clues to make it even easier, to a point where I thought it was already a little bit too easy. But clearly, based on the reaction, it was not easy enough to suit most people.
Yeah, logic puzzles are cool.
Yeah, it took me a while to
Yeah,
figure it out.
I think, like you said, a lot of people just don't have a background with them. Maybe, especially younger players.
I did eventually get it worked out, but I don't think it was that ridiculous to where people couldn't get it. But I mean, I
Meat
thought
Race
it
is
was
saying.
neat.
Meat Race says, "Wait, you thought this was easy, sadist?" And if you actually took pencil and paper and made a grid the way that you would solve most of these kind of logic puzzles, there were actually more than enough clues to get it fairly quickly. But I learned it's another hard lesson that I learned on the backs of the Space Quest series and Scott and Mark, and I feel very bad about that. I wanted so badly to do the Space Quest series justice because it was my favorite series, my favorite Sierra series, and Scott and Mark were two designers that I looked up to immensely, and the popular reaction to Space Quest 6 being what it was, I felt horrible.
Well, I had a great
Yeah,
time
my
playing
my
it.
heart was on my
Uh,
sleeve.
Yeah, yeah. I love the way Roger jumped into her arms there that we just saw. That was really great. But no, you brought a really. I mean, you brought the you as a game fan. It was something that Mark and I probably became removed from because of just doing game after game after game and being kind of a little bit fried. And I think maybe at some point we weren't doing as well with some of the puzzles as we might have, and we didn't do as well as we should have with clues. And you came along with Space Quest 6, and there was and it was tougher. It was more of a gamer's game, and so I think that maybe it was just the contrast that made it seem rougher to some people as far as that puzzle went.
I enjoyed the game
It was
tremendously.
great. It was great work and really great thought on the logic.
I love this the bridge having the big cat bed looking thing.
Yeah,
So great.
so many good touches.
I appreciate all the people who are speaking up and saying how much they like the game. I really appreciate that because for a little while I was feeling pretty pretty lonely and and sad.
I guess I should answer. Dan Kiesling. Mark, what were your reactions to someone else, not you, controlling Roger Wilco as in Space Quest 5 and 6? Well, like we were talking about it with fan games and stuff like that, for instance, it never felt good. And Sierra Management had come to me and said, we want you to do Space Quest 6. And then they stuck me on Police Quest 4. And then I found out the Space Quest 6 got assigned to, they'd assigned Josh to it. And so I was not in a good mood anyway. I was having a rough time in my personal life. I was pretty fried. And and like we said about the fan games, it's weird watching somebody else do something with your baby, but on the upside of that, it was Josh and not somebody else, because Josh had worked with Mark and I and produced some really great stuff for us on Space Quest 4, and as you guys have seen in bargain bin text and licking and smelling icons, and I don't even know what else, but Josh was our he was our unofficial third guy at that point anyway, so. It was a lot easier to see Josh than anybody else. So so as a parent, it's rough, but it's when it came down to it, it was Sierra's property. but Josh definitely put a lot of love into it, and so that was all that mattered.
Until I couldn't take it anymore at the company.
Yeah, it was not a good time, and I think you snapped before I did. And as far as just like, I'm at hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. and I was
Well,
sitting there going, oh geez, I've got a divorce probably coming up. I need some money.
Different people deal with adversity differently, and for me, coming to Sierra in 1990, where things were, from my standpoint, they were going so smoothly, and by 1994, it was so chaotic, and I just don't work very well in a chaotic environment. Finally, I went to Legend instead, Legend Entertainment.
Yeah, Sierra had grown so big. Everybody was in Bellevue for the most part by then, right, Josh? I mean, most of
a lot of people were,
like,
yeah.
Ken,
yeah.
and
They
Ken
had
was
plans
really
for
out of
me to Bellevue. Right.
Yeah, never had
Andromeda.
plans
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah,
there you are.
Yes,
Mark,
I can.
we were going to say
Andromeda
Mike had a
Denizen
little problem, and he's back.
Is asking, was the decision to introduce Stellar to the setups some kind of love triangle in Space Quest 7? The idea of Stellar was that it was difficult for me to imagine that Roger was the hero that he was, having done so many spectacular things for the universe, and yet he didn't have a single friend. And I thought, this doesn't make sense. So he's a hero. What kind of friend would he have? Well, he might have a friend that worships him. So Stellar was brought in to be a friend and a foil for Roger, and there was in the back of my mind the thought that, well, since Stellar is a female, there may be some jealousy with Beatrice, because we knew where Roger and Beatrice were supposedly going to end up, but the course of true love never does run smoothly, whatever. There have to be bumps along the way, and it made sense to me that there would be some entanglements between Roger meeting Beatrice and ending up being married to him. So while I didn't see a triangle there specifically, I thought there might be the potential for one in later games.
Yeah, definitely. I thought that was an interesting angle for sure. That yeah, it's like, how could Roger go all this time? We never talked about whether he's like a perpetual virgin or anything like that. But yeah, the idea that he'd gone through all this time and he'd been through StarCon Academy and all that stuff, and so he had to be a person of some lore and in his universe. The idea that that some woman out there. I mean, there are women that write people in prisons, so I guess it's not impossible to think that somebody would have admired Roger from afar as well.
I have to play this part right here, guys.
I was
Great.
Could have been somebody.
It's hard to believe that this is the Hollow Suite, the setting.
Hilarious. Stellar. Really funny. Here
There were
we
times
are.
too when I forget where the overlap is, Josh, on where some of my writing comes in and where yours started to tail off before when the Sierra stuff hit the fan for you, and I don't know where the overlap is, and I was trying to do justice to the stuff that you'd already done, and I really feel like I came out kind of short on some of it, and I'm not looking for any kind of I'm not dredging up.
Well,
dredging for
I
a
can
comment, a
tell you,
compliment or
Scott,
anything,
that
but I did
I remember where I was when I played the finished Space Quest 6. I mean, I was living in Virginia. I'd started to work for Legend, and you guys sent me a copy of the game with all of your signatures all over the box in silver marker, and I was so touched. And I sat down to play the game, and there was a ton of stuff in it that I knew I didn't write, and I laughed and laughed, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I felt good about it after I played it, and I thought you guys had done a terrific job with it. I was very, very happy.
Oh, thank you. One place I know I blew it was in the your Escher-like area, the Escher-like area. It was the internet, I guess it was, where you had all those pathways out in the desert or whatever it was. And,
yeah, the
and
information
I
superhighway.
totally, I was exactly, that's it. And I totally blew that area. I know for sure. I just didn't get it, and I think I just kind of I took a really cheap way out with some of the text on that. But it was just because of internet ignorance. I really hadn't embraced the internet yet. It was, I don't know. There was just so much stuff going on in my life, and I was just I was really quite fried.
Well, the both of you did a really beautiful job on this game. It definitely took it to the next level, and yeah, I was just real impressed with it.
Yeah, Josh put together a great team for sure.
Who did your animation? Who was the animator, or did you have several?
I can't honestly, I can't remember it. Josh.
I don't. Sadly, I don't remember either. I should grab the box with the signatures on it, and then I would know. Pablo Gonzalo was asking a parody of Yar's funeral, and that's absolutely right. That was the inspiration for that funeral segment from Star Trek: Next Generation.
The manual hotspot. I was just looking at it. It has wings.
Oh, right.
That was good work. I remember one thing that was interesting to me, Josh. I remember asking you when you came to the company, you had this pile of magazines, and you had like something like, I don't know if it was called Undertaker's Weekly or something like that. You just had all these
funeral director.
Oh, is that what
Southern
it was?
Funeral
You had all these
Director,
different these magazines that from all these different things, and those, and I was like, oh, well, why do you have those? And then you explained it to me, and I went, that's genius. There was so much cool
love
stuff in there.
Southern Funeral Director magazine.
It was awesome. All the cool, you could get a deal on embalming fluid. And it was just because it was an industry magazine, so they took it was taken totally seriously, but from a living person's point of view who's not an undertaker, it's just bizarre to the point of just hysterical. And then at times you go, at some point this might be directed at me. Some of these products just may be working on me. Actually, I'm going for the whole, burn me up and throw me someplace kind of thing. But
I love
I'm not letting
the
those bastards
graffiti
use
in
me for
this
something.
in this scene.
Gravity sucks. Kill
Yeah.
Kielbasa.
Yeah.
I think my favorite was Sarek Lies.
Oh god.
And I love
Game over, man.
having
Game
the
over.
Krell in there from Forbidden Planet.
Oh, right. Yeah, Forbidden Planet's great. Mark has a huge poster of that in his work area, and I was very glad to see it because I watched it just a while ago, and it's still such a cool movie. And what's her face? I can't remember her name, but she was just so beautiful. The daughter.
Did that movie ever come out on Blu-ray or high def of any kind?
They
Forbidden
they should
Planet?
it should
Yeah,
come out because
it came out just recently. It came out like within the last, I think, probably 6 months or a year.
I need to cop that. That's such an iconic
yeah, they kept
movie.
it pristine.
I'd love to have a
Yeah.
Blu-ray copy of it.
they kept a pristine. They had a pristine master. It came out really great. Anne Francis, is that who I'm thinking of? Yes. God, she was beautiful. And there were some, and then Leslie Nielsen in there, who later on went to be, the Mr. Parody King. And that, but it's funny to see some of these people, Walter Pidgeon.
I know
so
Warbird
on.
Games
Keep
must
talking seriously.
love that movie because it's right up his alley.
I love this morphing sequence. I don't think I had specified any particular things for the morphing. So, when I first saw this, it was when the game had come out, it was finished, and I was laughing out loud. I was just thrilled with this.
Yeah, and I think this was all the art, all the work of the artists. I don't recall giving them any direction on it. They had such a good feel for what. It just seemed like they all had such a great feel for what you had wanted. You guys had you'd done such a good job of communicating the vision for the game that they just seemed locked in on it. And I mean, they'd ask me questions, but it's like usually it was just like, yeah, that's good. Nothing from me.
I think it's
happy.
clear the artists and the animators on this project were really inspired and put a lot of work into it for sure.
And that has a lot to do with Josh, because he set such a great tone at the beginning of the project. Because I do remember going to an apartment for one meeting after I think I was still working on Police Quest 4, but they said, "Oh, we want you to be a consultant or something like that on the game." And so I think, Josh, you had an off-campus meeting, if you want to call it, called the Lubin Goa campus, and we went. We all sat and talked, and Bill Shockley, I think, wanted to play a laser disc or something. That was right.
Oh yeah,
but
I remember that
sitting in
vaguely.
a room talking. Yeah, Bill and his laser discs.
Josh, was it difficult when you got the game and started playing it officially? Were you able to just kind of zoom right through it because you knew all the answers to the puzzles, or was there some changes that kind of made you think?
For the most part, I was able to go through it pretty quickly, but I didn't. Because I wanted to stop and see how many of the little details that I had put in the design document might still be in there, which ones had been swapped out for other things. So I went through it pretty slowly, but not because the puzzle. I think the only puzzle I had any problem with was that damn data quarter puzzle. That really screwed me up for a long
Data
time.
quarter puzzle. Well, yeah, who made that? God.
No, of course, I didn't remember the solution to that, so I had to actually sit
You
down
had to
and
break
work
out
it
the pen
out.
and paper.
Exactly, I did.
Yeah, this is so cool. I just don't know. I just don't know what tools would have been available, Mark, at this time to do this stuff. It's hard to imagine.
Well, I'm assuming all this CG stuff was just basically a canned video
Yes.
that was playing, or
Yeah. I'm 3D
Right.
Studio. I'm not sure if it was 3D Studio or what it was. I forget what wireframe animation program they were using then.
Once repairs have been
Oh,
made, and
I
the
honestly can't
lanes have
remember.
been refined,
Okay, I have the
follow the deep shades
artist
of
names here. Since we've been talking about the art, we have to give them props. Karen did work on it, and I remember now because I remember seeing Karen's signature on the box.
Good.
Frankie Powell, John Schroeds, Barry Sunt, Chris Willis, and Deanna Yalfi.
Chris. Yeah. Yeah, we saw Chris yesterday in the current Inside Copy video. He was the guy with the glasses and the long black hair.
And I should have remembered that Karen worked on this. I feel bad. Sorry, Karen, if you're out there.
She'll flog you. Don't worry, she'll make you pay later.
Guybrush Threepwood Zero says the Soylent Clear commercial in
Soylent
Space Quest
Clear.
6 was epic. That was the very first thing I wrote, and I remember sitting down with Neil and working it out. It was loosely based on a very, very old RC Cola commercial. Me and my RC, because what's good enough for other folks ain't good enough for me. And that
Yeah.
commercial was sort of the inspiration of the Soylent Clear commercial.
So great.
Hey, how many of you out there drink Zima?
Scott, I am so looking forward to getting into designing some spaceships for our new game.
I'll bet it. You've got to be chomping at the bit seeing these things.
Nostromo. Or not, is that the Nostromo?
Yeah, from
Or
Alien.
was the escape ship from the Nostromo, which I don't even remember the name of.
Guess you'll find out tonight.
I just picked up a 2-pack of Alien and Aliens, and for $8 at Walmart, and so I'm gonna go back through them. Seems like the only videotapes I was ever able to get a hold of when they came out were in just horrible shape, and you could just barely see the screen. So I'm looking forward to running it on my Blu-ray player.
A few people are talking about the Space Quest 6 demo, which used graphics and some of the characters, but had completely different puzzles and plot. And that was because, as a gamer, whenever I would play an adventure game, a demo, I would hate the fact that when I eventually got the real game, I would know a section of it already because I'd already played it in the demo. So I always tried to do demos that featured some original gameplay. I did the same thing with the Freddy Farkas demo. The puzzles in the Freddy Farkas demo don't appear anywhere in the game. It's a completely different little plot.
Well, that's a great idea.
Yeah, definitely. Something we didn't think of for sure.
Well, it was expense, to create a demo with animations and text that didn't appear in the finished game. That was an added expense, and I had to, in each case, convince the producer, or in the case of Freddy Farkas, to convince myself that we could afford it.
Yeah, that long talk with yourself.
Exactly. With Freddy Farkas, it was easy because there was very little new animation for that demo. Very, very little. Quite a bit more in the Space Quest 6 demo.
Warbird Games Day Pimpin'. Andromeda guys is like a day on the farm. Every meal a banquet, every paycheck a fortune, every fortune a parade. Thank you. You're too kind.
Space Quest 3, The Pirates of Pestulon. That's going to be on the cinema coming up.
Guybrush is asking if there are any future plans for another Freddy Farkas, and as far as I know, there are not. Those rights would probably reside with Activision, and as far as I know, they are not licensing out any of those properties at this point.
Yeah. I was so glad to see Fester back.
Oh, you got to have Fester.
Yeah.
And I love this version of him. This artwork was really nice.
And his skin tone is a little bit different. Like he's gotten older and he's been breathing toxic air a little bit more, and perhaps.
We should have made him blonde.
Give him give him hair plugs or something.
And then in the next game he can have brown hair. In the next game he can have brunette hair.
Brain Dead products have been a staple of the home-built being hobbyist for decades now. They make a fine line of adapter plugs which allow for cross-species component swapping. Means you'll be able to pick up parts anywhere other beings exist. Nice deal, huh? They also make
A little bit of VO for you.
Yeah. I kick myself in the ass on some of the voice casting. But it was a time pressure thing, and we were working
Yes.
through one agent.
Some of what's going on here with the Mahdi's was a sort of a salute to a series of books by a sci-fi author named George Alec Effinger, who wrote Circuit's Edge, among others. Circuit's Edge was one of them, and actually Circuit's Edge had been, I think it was an Infocom game. It was one of their graphic games. Anyway, he did a lot with Mahdi's. There it is.
Yeah, Mike Haley. Yeah, I agree with you. About the. That's not how I pictured Fester's voice either, and that was definitely a regret of mine. He definitely should have had a different voice, and I can't believe I let that one go. But I can only speak to my frame of mind and personal life at that time. I just pretty much given up on a lot of things.
This was inspired in whole by MC Escher. I just wanted to say this is
Didn't you have a picture and a T-shirt or something like that of his?
Oh, probably.
Yes, you always had the coolest stuff. We were talking about some of that yesterday when Josh came to work. He got in his cube and he put all these cool things on the walls, and the Pope smoking the Marlboro, which he ended up getting a talking to by an HR lady who still complaints, and if it's okay for me to say, Josh, turned out it was her problem, nobody else's, and he had a really cool boxing nun thing, and
oh yeah, the
just
boxing nun
puppet. Yeah.
You guys had great stuff all over your
Mark
desks too. And Mark, I remember when I started there, you had some of the models that were used for SQ4. You had some of those around your desk and your cubicle.
Nice 3-point Windows
Did Mark
3.1 coming up.
I think maybe his microphone cut out again, or he's taking a little.
What? I was typing, so I didn't want to.
Oh. I was talking about all the SQ4 models that you had around your cubicle.
Windows 3.0.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was talking about the models that you had, Mark, and I was talking about how Josh had all the cool stuff that he brought in and decorated his cubicle with, like the Pope smoking the Marlboro, and the boxing nun and the various things like that. And Josh told me yesterday, I don't know if you heard this, but Tara came in and told Josh that there was an issue with that somebody had a problem with the Pope smoking a cigarette, and made him take it down, and that it was later found out that it was her issue, nobody else's. Tara. We used to sit when she would give speeches when we would have employee meetings. She wasn't the smoothest public speaker, and we used to. It was kind of cruel, but we used to count how many times she said and you could almost hear it when people were sitting there. 3, 4, 15, 16, 25, 26.
Josh, I have to share. I think one of my fondest memories of being at Sierra working with you is when you performed at the Christmas party. You did some of your stand-up comedy, and I just remember.
That's right.
My ass off. It was really funny stuff. Is there by chance a video of you doing any of that?
There is one. Yes, there is one video on YouTube from a performance that Karen and I did in. I think it was either Boulder, Colorado, or Colorado Springs. If you search for Mandel and McVeigh, and her last name is spelled McVeigh, Veigh, just like Tim McVeigh. Mandela McVeigh. Someone put a video. Actually, they are distantly related.
Really?
Yeah. He's like he was a third cousin to Karen, but yeah, Mandela and McVeigh was the name of the team, and if you find it, that's I did not approve that video. I had hair.
Hair?
But that's the only footage that I know of that's on the net. I have stacks of videotapes, but that performance changed my life because that was, I mean, up until then I was still technically a producer, and Ken came backstage after that show and said, "You're a funny kind of guy. You should be designing these games," and that changed everything for me.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And then you were the.
No, I remember
Writers
being very,
Club.
very impressed in seeing that side of you. I didn't even know it existed. It was real funny stuff. Encourage everybody to look up that video because
Oh God.
Please do. I'm going to be.
At least you didn't say don't look it up, because that would have like spawned it even worse.
That's true.
It's already
I
been
think-
linked in the chat room, so
I think that by us talking about it now, we've done the damage that Josh didn't want.
yeah. Sure enough.
Great Caesar's Ghost. Now there's a reference.
Superman.
Yeah. And look at me now. Incredible View says, and look at me now. Yeah. Let's see.
Look at you.
This is Dr. Bellows. Oh, that's right. In that old comedy video, I think is the sketch where I put my legs behind my neck.
Oh my God.
So now people are going to know even more about me than they ever wanted to.
And why Josh took his time getting married.
Old Adventure Gamer 83 is asking if I'm related to Howie. No, I am not.
Thank God.
Comes the shuttle, gonna be shrunken down here.
Incoming.
I went back and watched Fantastic Voyage recently, and it was amazing how well it stood up. And watching it, I was reminded so much of the Mad Magazine parody of it. Because Mad Magazine plays an enormous role in how I write and design. Wow, that something about the way that picture is drawn reminds me of SQ4 when Roger is in the chair.
Oh right, and yeah, and the Epaulettes being wielded upon him.
Yeah.
well, that's a pretty common theme in old pulp sci-fi is the beautiful woman encapsulated in some kind of a chamber.
Oh.
They were always the victims. They'd run and they'd trip, and then the guys would pick them up and slap them in the chair. Because women can't run without tripping, as movies have taught us, and TV shows.
Comes a really cool scene, the injection.
So I thought that was just so incredibly stupid.
Here we go.
Gooey.
Yes, as Meat Race is pointing out, my original proposed title for this game was Wearing Corman Santiago as Roger Wilco. And for a while I thought that was going to fly, but Ken was good friends with, was it Doug Carlston? Was that his
Yeah,
name?
the
Doug Carlston?
Brother Bunders.
Right. And he didn't want to offend him, so.
Yeah, he had some odd sensibilities. There were some things that he didn't like, and some things he was okay with, and it didn't seem like there was a pattern that could really be followed. Although the Empire Sucks thing that we were talking about in Space Quest 3, that Mark had done like a spray paint job of a graffiti thing on the wall of on the wing of a TIE fighter. He just thought that would piss off LucasArts for some reason. It was, and the Empire were the bad guys, and it was like, it seems like every fan would have gotten that. But that couldn't be in there. That had to go. Of course, he never looked up the fact that Droid was a Lucas trademark. The stomach.
I love he pulls that paperclip out. Coming up here.
Yeah, I remember you having those monstrous books. You had Grey's Anatomy,
Right,
an actual
right.
book, not just a TV show, people, and another one. I learned a ton of stuff. The Isles of Langerhans all of a sudden I forgot it.
Yeah, I also had that large biological, the exposed man thing where you
Yeah.
could take the organs out, and this game got me started on a lot of interesting medical. I mean, for about the last 6 years, some of what I've been doing part time are medical simulations for one of the major textbook adult education textbook publishers, and so I've been doing a lot with some of the stuff I learned in this game, and it's all coming in very handy. I never did really come up with a rationale for why Stellar had swallowed all that stuff, like the paperclip, and, but I just figured
I love these backgrounds.
there's a lot of. Oh, I forgot about the Twinkie.
Yeah, the happy. I mean, it's just part of
Yeah.
it's ripped off, and the rest of it's just jammed down her
It's
gullet.
great, man.
Maybe she was making a nose.
Yeah.
Ow! 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 Women in tubes.
Jonathan Frisbee said, "You really made Stellar one of the most unappealing love interests ever with this body stuff." I can't possibly disagree.
She had the diet of Liz Lemon from 30 Rock. Well, one of my favorite shows.
No, I got to say the whole inner space angle and everything, that was pretty inventive. And
Yeah.
I love these backgrounds.
Really cool and original.
They're kind of
idea.
gross.
I think
in
we're in
a
the
cool way.
gallbladder here, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, you learn a little bit
Is
about
this
medical
a
stuff.
gallbladder?
playing
Remember-
games.
Gallbladder, Josh?
Hmm? What?
I was just thinking this is the gallbladder. I can't remember.
I don't
Getting my
either.
organs confused.
I'm sure the chat room can tell us.
I'm sure there's a doctor in the house. Yeah, I think it seemed like he had to climb back up here because he had to go through the. Oh, what's the thing everybody gets that Patrick Swayze died of? The cancer that starts with a P. That's where the Isles of Langerhans is. Where insulin is produced,
Prostate.
and then back up that way is the pancreas. Thank you, and then back up in that direction is where the gallbladder is located,
Oh, I
and all
love
that
this
nice green bilish was flowing out.
scene coming up here is great.
Here we go. A meatball.
Oh, the gallstone.
Yeah.
I remember after the game came out, someone said, "You ripped that scene off from Indiana Jones." I was like, I wasn't ripping it off. I was parodying
Tribute.
it.
It's like, had this person ever played Space Quest before?
I don't know.
hard to
Probably
imagine.
that's the shame of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should have been a rule. You should have to play all the games to work on the project.
Arterial plaque.
So
Is
cool.
this Polyp Quest?
Oh Lord, don't remind me.
It's interesting how, I mean, this is, what are we at? 20 years later? Not quite. Suddenly, this whole scenario isn't nearly as funny to me as it was back then.
I don't know,
Strange.
man. It's pretty funny.
Well, no, because I mean, you know, now I'm at the age where
Oh, I
start
gotcha.
having real issues with all these things.
Oh, right. That
Oh my
completely.
God! Yeah, it just reminds you how many systems in your body can go rogue on you.
This scene's kind of making me hungry. I'm gonna go get a muffin. I'll be right back.
Grab some mushrooms for me.
I was wanting a Twinkie, man, earlier.
A Dexatrim tablet. Oh, that's right. It was a contact. It was
Yeah. The tiny time pills.
tiny time pills. Yeah, that's it. All the wives in Oakhurst were using Dexatrims because the doctor that used to give out Black Beauties had been run out of town by somebody. They were trying to find something to replace the thing he'd gotten them hooked on, which was a true story.
Jeez, man.
Dead again?
And of course, the tapeworm
looking-
was. Oh, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the tapeworm, of course, was a way of paying tribute to Dune and the worms on Arrakis.
Hmm. Very cool.
So we ended up having two Dune. We had Dune in Space Quest 1, just that one little thing, and then here the tapeworm.
So cool. Lots of these cool little anime or these cutscenes.
Yeah, I was surprised when I played it how many really nicely done little cutscenes there were, and I thought, wow. I don't remember what the budget was on this game, but you guys had to have blown it because it looked good.
Yeah, but it's at a point after you left, they put Oliver on as the producer, and so he was writing the spreadsheets. But somehow the art people did such a wonderful job, and they made so much happen that to me it seems like you're saying, that just seems like it must have been must have stepped out of the budget somehow. But I think that their devotion to making the game happen and living up to what you guys had all imagined and so on. They just put in the time that they needed to get it done, make it happen. And that was, that's directly attributable to how you inspired them, Josh.
Well, that's however it happened. It's fantastic.
Well, yeah, you were a
yeah,
great
the
guy to work
fingernails.
with. Yeah, so many fingernails.
A screw.
We should have had some Lee press-on. Should have had some Lee press-ons in there too.
Oh yeah.
Never thought of that. told him just now. Hell, I'm just gonna eat my own. They last longer. When I was a little kid, I used to be a nail chewer. Took me a long time to break that habit. Now I just let my stomach eat me from the inside out instead. Don't know about George Lucas's dog being named Indiana Jones.
I don't remember, but are there squishy sounds when he's walking on the
Let's find out.
walking on the surface?
Should have been.
Man, that was close.
It don't sound like it.
Now,
I don't think I can hit them from here.
Those were really
I
cool.
don't think I can hit them.
Those are some more rendered objects. Oh. So close, yes. So far away. I'm so cool. I'm so cool.
that's I would have to say that's probably the grossest single screen in the entire game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't disagree
It's
there.
it's a cross between the dripping and the wrinkles of the squished together parts. It's that's really glorious. I love that. Now,
Glorious.
I was surprised when I first saw her because I don't think there were any finished drawings of Stellar when I was still at the company. So the first time I saw her was when I played the game, and I thought, where did the brow? What's going on with the brow there? Was that Scott? Do you remember? Was there a decision to make her vaguely Klingon-like?
Not my. It wasn't a decision that I had any influence on. And if anybody that's an artist on the project remembers differently, please correct me. But the way that people were set up, the way you guys had people set up, Josh, I let them run with things basically.
Okay.
And so it may be that they might have, with maybe a lack of oversight because of me, you having set things up, but then all of a sudden there being a vacuum for a while, and then me coming
Right.
in and having to pick up a bunch of stuff and get up to speed on things. They may have taken some artistic liberties based on things that they were inspired by. But I don't remember ever asking them to make her that way. But I think that was I think that was inspired by artists, an artist inspiration kind of a thing.
I want to mention
They
here
were-
what Ken Allen has brought to our attention, that the original art for the Space Quest 4 cover is being auctioned off to raise money for the Kickstarter. I didn't realize that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I got a message last night from Cindy Vanis. Vanis, I think her name is Vanis.
Oh, right.
Which she had sent a message to our Kickstarter address, but somehow it didn't get around, I guess. And so she said that we could either offer it up as something in a reward tier, or that she could auction it off and donate the money to the cause. And I told her we would get back to her after we finished the podcast. I put an email out there for you guys to check out.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, great.
fantastic.
Yeah. It's like torture though, because it's like I want to buy it.
Well,
No,
Well, there
Pony
you
up,
go,
bro.
Chris.
I know. Sure, go ahead.
Pony on up. Pony on up. Like you haven't done enough already.
Really neat animations here. I like this squid effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such good work.
Yeah, that's very good.
Eric Tiller is asking what part of the brain this is, and all I can say is that since Stellar is an alien, we don't have to answer that question.
We don't have that anatomy book.
Right.
I thought it was my stomach. Especially that red fiery part.
And the
Nice.
fish finally proves useful.
There you go, fans in the chat room. One of you guys just said that Big Harry Marty, I believe, if you win the lottery, you'll give to the Kickstarter. This is an idea. Yeah, everybody go out and buy lottery tickets. We'll be funded in no time.
That's how I got in touch with Josh Thompson, the guy that does Jeff the skeleton robot on the Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson. He had posted something, and it was a message he had gotten when he'd gone and had Chinese food, I think it was, and then part of it was a set of 6 numbers. And I said, "You are going to bet those, right?" And then that's when he noticed my name, and he said, Scott Murphy from Space Quest, you got my pimply face through high school." And now he's asking to be in the game, but I'd watch Craig Ferguson every night.
That by the way, that popping the pimple thing, that was a thing of beauty.
That was great. I enjoyed that.
Chris, how long did it take to beat the game? I'm not sure. It must have been Chris Kana.
Oh, did I just lose you
Sure
guys?
which
Are you
Chris
guys still
he's referring
there?
to. Craig Ferguson, I said, yes, Ben. I love his show too. I watch it every night, and if I don't, I DVR it. He and Jeff, he and Josh, who does Jeff, I mean, their dialogue is great, and none of it is. They do no rehearsal. It's all ad libbed. And Craig had before Grant. I want to get his name, Minohara or whoever it is, the guy that's on MythBusters and used to be at LucasArts and worked on R2D2, and he's just a robot genius. He made Craig. I mean, he made Jeff Peterson the skeleton robot for the show. Because Craig Ferguson is a huge MythBusters fan, and so he comes in every once in a while and do a little update work on Jeff and little maintenance work and so on. Jeff Peterson, Garant Imahara, thank you. He's awesome, huh? Yeah, MythBusters is the show, and Grant's just a really cool guy.
Jockstrap flies off into the sunset.
Oh man, I'd love. Oh, that'd be great, Jenny. I wish we could I wish you could somehow digitize that VHS of Craig's old stand-up. That was? I think he started out as being Hitler or something like that in his old days. I've got his book, and he started out pretty rough. That was back when he was still doing a lot of drugs and alcohol, and so he had a very mercurial kind of a career.
So
I
we're
would love to see that.
gonna start up the death sequence video here. About 9 minutes worth of deaths.
Let's watch that whole thing over again backwards. What do you say? What do you say?
Tell us a bit about what happened in Space Quest 7. Let's cover that when we don't want to waste the time we have with Josh.
Yeah,
He didn't have anything to do with that, and so
we'll do that.
We'd like
at some
we
point.
will cover it. We don't want to take away time that we have with Josh.
Yeah.
We promise we'll cover that for you.
I do have some questions I didn't get to ask during the commentary via email that came in, so I'll do that here in a second after the death sequences here. I know how you guys like your death.
Yeah, hot and messy.
Especially that PCJ guy.
Yeah. He's been a really great supporter. He's been out there on.
He's been a pant load.
Yeah.
No, he's one of the
Yeah.
the greatest, actually. Really
He's been
helpful.
out there spreading the word on Twitter and so on, and
Yeah.
just really we appreciate it. I mean, there are many of you out there that have been doing this thing. We just happened to mention his name because of the death things.
Yeah, we can't really. There's so many of you guys out there that have just been such a tremendous help. I mean, making this process less brutal. So, and hanging out in the comments and setting people straight on things that they were confused on and things like that has been very helpful.
Oh, Mark has a stalker. Jericho. Is that how you say it?
It was that 6-pack picture I posted earlier, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what did.
Getting people all hot and bothered.
You rude bastard. Post pictures like you have of me, and then you put that up of yourself.
Excuse me while I move over to a private chat room.
I love this picture of Roger though when he gets frozen.
Okay.
That's brilliant.
I told him to eat ibuprofen, but it depends on where you go.
He came out of Roger's pants.
Or the way they're in like that. Where you go?
Incredible
Don't
view.
worry about it.
He was asking what my opinion is on death scenes. I love death scenes. As a player, I always counted on Space Quest to give me my daily adult requirement of death scenes. And
Yeah, great stuff, man.
Sorry for the interruption, folks. All of a sudden, my mom stuck her head in the door and started asking questions. She hasn't quite latched onto this whole thing, even though I've been doing it for, 20 straight days.
You know, interesting, just silly but interesting, the fact that we started these, and it wasn't planned this way, but we started these commentaries on June 1st, so it's basically been Space Quest 1 on the 1st, 2 on the 2nd, 3 on the 3rd, so on and so forth. It's kind of crazy. So I guess we got to do, if we're going to do a Space Quest 7, we have to do it tomorrow. At some point.
That'll be boring.
We do have the well, it don't have to be a long one. We have the Reddit thing going tomorrow as well. We've got to get that properly announced here today. We'll be getting some grief for announcing too much.
Yeah, I noticed that. It's pretty strange.
You just can't win, man.
The fun, if you look at if you go to the Larry updates page, you got people debating that whole thing. They're saying you're damned if you do and you're damned if you
You sure enough
because
are.
they mentioned that Jane did more updates than Larry did, because somebody was saying, well, you guys only did this and these guys, were getting update-itis or something like that, and it's just like, man, people, what?
Well, we'd have been happy to keep our trap shut if we were,
can't win.
rolling in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and on the Larry Kickstarter, we got grief for not doing enough updates. So,
yeah, it's just so tough. There's just some people out there that are, you can't, I don't know. I'm not sure what makes them tick, but for the most part, we've been really lucky with the people that have commented. But sometimes you just, man, it's just rugged. You're right. You can't please all the people all the time. We're just hoping for like 20%. Yeah, and the customer is always right, even when they're wrong.
Oh yeah, we know that. And I hope you guys have seen we definitely don't try to bash any of the people out there. We we love all the Kickstarter people, even the people that are donating $15. You know?
Yeah, we try to listen to people and get into.
That
Ooh,
sounded bad. That's not the way I meant for that to sound. Even the people that donated $15.
I know, Chris.
That's
It
not.
was you. It was you instead of me.
Scott made
It's
me
a
say
lower
that.
tier kind of like though.
Lower tier kind of like. Nice, Mark.
God, I'm sounding better on this podcast. Thanks, guys, for taking the pressure off.
Well,
Trying to keep Chris
I'm a big supporter of this project, and anything I can do in these last 6 days to help move you guys. I mean, I've been putting it on Facebook. I'm gonna put a lot more of it on Facebook. Anything I can do, you let me know, because nothing would please me more than seeing you guys be able to realize your vision, and especially a vision that's relatively free of interference from publishers and chiefs and so on. I'm there. I'm one of your biggest fans. So tell me
Hey,
what I
thanks
can
a lot,
do,
Josh.
and I
We
will do.
Really
it.
appreciate that.
we'd like you to do a stand-up marathon, and let's see.
Yeah, you're gonna have
Thank
to
you,
take the
Josh.
comedy routine on the road. Come up to Eugene, do a couple shows.
Come up to the
And
Oakhurst
Mark will
rap party.
be glad to come up
Josh.
there. Mark will be glad to go with you and show off that cut body of his.
Yeah, you got to come
You
up
can
to
do a
the
little,
Oakhurst.
do a little lap dancing for the ladies and
Do some
and whoever.
stand up at the rap party. That would be awesome.
I think just having you there would be a blast.
You have a rap party, and I'll do at least 2 minutes of stand up. There you go.
Awesome, man.
There you
All
go.
right,
See, there you go,
you
backers.
heard it here, folks.
Throw the 10 grand in there. We'll fly you up there.
Jenny wants a little bit more of the towel photo.
A little
shoot,
bit more.
Of the little towel Photoshop shoot, please. Photo. So, Mark, you got some explaining to do. You got a lot more. You got a lot more
Blame Chris.
Photoshop. A lot more Photoshop work to do on that towel picture. I'm sure Jenny would like to have a poster of size version of it. She's been a very nice supporter, and gosh, I think it's the least she deserves.
Here's the death scenes from the demo.
This is the demo. Yeah.
Yeah, it's showing the death scenes from the demo on there. That's cool. Very cool. Well, so let me go ahead and run through some questions for you guys real quick. Just some of the ones that came into the email that I didn't get a chance to ask yet. And let me pull that up here. All right, so here we go. Here's a question. This is from James, who actually is the guy who did the music for our prototype, living concept art, and he wanted to know. This is, I think, both Scott and Mark says, how did it feel to not have Mark working on the thing that you both created together? It must have been surreal or out of control at times. I think it's more geared towards Scott, I guess, than anything.
It was strange because with Josh it was it was different because while he was still there it was different because we had Josh was part of had worked with Mark and I extensively on Space Quest 4 and and there was a really nice feeling of familiarity, but honestly it's really I really can't tell you that it was just a weird time. That's all I can say. I mean, I think Josh can speak to this as well. It was just a really rough time at Sierra, and the toll of all the games and all the hours had taken it was really huge on my personal life, and I was just looking to survive this project project, and honestly, I don't think I gave much. All I could think about was get to the end of this thing, and try to save your personal life. And it was just really hard, and it was all after Space Quest 4 it was rough. Yeah, I mean, when I was surprised to see the Space Quest 5 demo that the QAable version that they'd sent down, and Garuka was playing in his office. That was the first I knew about it. Nobody had mentioned that it was even in production, and so it was, the whole thing was kind of weird, and so it's safe to say I wasn't in the best of moods about the whole situation, but if they were going to give it to anybody, I mean, after they told me that I was going to do Space Quest 6, and then they put me on Police Quest 4, which is a nightmare project, and it went on and on and on and on, working for somebody I really hated working for. It was, at least it was Josh and not somebody else, and because Josh really cared about maintaining the Space Quest legacy, and he did a great job. And then when I came aboard, when he finally had to make his exit, when things were just intolerable, he had this great team put together, and these people with I felt bad for them. They were kind of left behind, and I tried my best to put on a good face for them, but Josh had done such a good job that they pretty much all understood their responsibilities. They knew what Josh's vision was, and so I just tried to ride along with that and improvise as best I could. But so I honestly didn't really give Mark thought, and not that I didn't give Mark thought intentionally. It was just I was in survival mode, honestly.
All right. Here's a question from Oscar Tong email. The Space Quest 6 CD contained a WAV file, one of the Orion's Belt bar themes on Polysorbate LX that was either played by a band or through a sample-based synthesizer. In other words, something better than FM synthesis. The file, as far as I could tell back then, was never used in the game. What was it doing on the CD? Was it an Easter egg or something? Does anybody know?
It's hard to say. One of the interesting things about the Space Quest 6 music is that almost all of it was composed on a guitar, and using some sort of a synthesizer to turn it into other stuff. Neil Grandstaff was the guy that did the music for Space Quest 6, and he's this master guitar player. The man can play Eric Clapton type stuff that can make you just about cry. It's so good. And so he did a lot of stuff like that. And sometimes when you're making games, you'll put stuff in, you'll have things in code, and at the last minute you'll say, oh well, okay, we don't want to use that, or we can't use that for some reason. And there will be resources left in the files, in the programming files, and in various modules. And sometimes I don't think there was an Easter egg that was intended there, as far as I know.
Well, here's Oscar's next question. I loved how the Space Quest 6 demo was its own story. It was a great way to get a feel for the game, both functionally and story-wise, without spoiling anything, and it made the demo its own unique special experience. Why do you think this idea never caught on with other developers? I guess this is more for Josh.
Yeah.
I think it's expense. Demos tend not to be thought about until partway into a project, and so you often don't find them properly budgeted, so they become afterthoughts. And there's something that I thought about a lot because I came from a gaming background, and so it was something I always tried to set up at the very beginning of a project to make sure that there were going to be funds and time available to do a good standalone demo. And frankly, I'm sure a lot of designers would say, well, we could put some money and time into the demo, but I'd rather see it go into the game itself. So there is a trade-off there. I just happen to love demos, and really wanted the Farkas demo and the Space Quest 6 demo to to represent the game and blow it out of the water. So that's what we did.
Cool. Very cool. Well, here is another question from Jamin Bull, I believe, if I pronounce that correctly. This says, I think this could be for all three of you together. It says there is a very distinct evolution in art direction for the characters of Space Quest 6 from the previous games. In previous Space Quest games, it seems that characters were given a certain amount of realism, albeit within the confines of early computing technology. The contrast to Space Quest 6, they were very cartoony. They had a cartoony feel. Why was this decision made? Whoever wants to take that one.
Well, I'll venture an opinion. Michael, I think it had something to do with Mike Hutchison showing me that the more that we went with realistic characters on the backgrounds that we were doing, the more they faded into the background. And so I know we opted for brighter colors and the outline, cartoony outline and so on, just in order to make the characters pop off the background better.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the reasons. I don't know if that was the only reason.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see. It says, I personally feel that the environments of Space Quest 6 are some of the best realized locations of the series, particularly Polysorbate and Deep Ship. What were the inspirations of Polysorbate? I get a very distinct I can't say that right. Grimy, decaying, futuristic Blade Runner vibe whenever I play the Poly section and love it. I truly hope that I truly hope Space Venture works out. Thank you. But the question is, I guess, particularly Polysorbate and Deep Ship. What were the inspirations for Polysorbate? That's the main question.
Blade Runner was, in fact, a lot of the inspiration for Polysorbate. Also, downtown Chicago, as Scott knows, was some of the inspiration for that. So when they said they got a Blade Runner-ish feel from it, well, that's exactly what you're supposed to get. So that's good.
My grandfather used to have you know where what's that famous steakhouse? Starts with a G. I can't remember the name of it now, but it's my grandfather used to have I know you know who it's a great place. It's got all of these pictures of people from stars and sports legends and stuff.
Oh yeah,
Isn't that the Palm?
Gibson. Is it Gibson's?
Gibson.
I
Not
think
sure.
it is. And my grandfather had an apartment right near where Oak and Rush, I think it was, came together, where they started coming, where they were angling toward each other. I think it was, or Oak and Rush. I forget the name, but he had an apartment right there up until the family actually had it for a few years after he died, and so it was kind of funny. I had forgotten a lot about Chicago because I only lived there when I was a kid, but I lived there for 4 years at the beginning of the 2000s, and so I went down there, and it was like I saw that stuff, and it was like a flashback to Space Quest 6 when I saw the street signs. It was pretty cool. But that was where I was born. I just never really knew that much about about downtown, even though I was born not too far away. They tore down the hospital after I was born. I don't know if that was intentional or not.
All right. Let's see. First off, this is just a small thank you from Nicholas Shinneman. I hope I've said that right, and I apologize if I didn't. It says, allow me to share some of my personal feelings. Space Quest 6 was my very first PC game ever. A friend of mine had a copy of it. I was a huge Star Trek fan at the time, so I looked at the cover, saw the Trek movie font, and figured, stupid shitty parody will suck. But right around the time Commander Kilbasa went into his thank you speech, my life was changed forever. I loved the game so much that I bought a copy of it before I even had a computer run it on. To ease my Space Quest addiction, I asked a friend who first exposed me to the game to hook up his PC to his stereo. He taped 90 minutes worth of gameplay audio for me which I would listen to over and over again. Hell, I even tried to recreate the first Polysorbate LX screen on Mario Paint. I understand that Let's see. Okay, so here
I
his
think it's actually Polysorbit 60.
his actual question says, Mark, after Space Quest 5, which was another favorite of his, was finished, were there any any ideas which direction Space Quest 6 should be taken? Which did you first play? When did you first play Space Quest 6, or did you get a chance to run through the whole game, or what?
I've never had a chance to run through the whole game. I played about halfway through, and then I cheated and I did a video walkthrough for the rest of the game. But yeah, honestly, when we finished up Space Quest 5, Space Quest 6 was not even a thought. I didn't really even think about where we would take it next.
All right.
Honestly.
Very cool. Happy birthday, RKill15, by the way.
I think it's
Yeah.
Acryl. I'm not
Acryl?
sure. Acryl or Acryl. But happy birthday.
That's how somebody typed it. See, yes, you're right. It's Acryl15.
I know you well and love you.
All right, and
Well.
then Josh, please tell us a little. Okay, we've already answered that about the decoder puzzle. Some of this stuff we've got. Okay, yeah, a lot of his questions, and then finally finishing up here. We find his actual.
Lightspeeder. The hospital I was born in was torn down a couple years afterward. And then my sister was born and they rebuilt one and they tore that one down too.
Yeah, I think we got through most of the ones that we haven't already talked about. So I think we're good there, guys. Well, guys in the chat room, thank you so much for hanging out with us for the last couple of hours.
Josh, before we go, would you like to give anybody any updates on how your project, Leisure Suit Larry, is coming along?
Oh, sure. Thank you. We just got back from Israel, and where we met up with the Adventure Mob guys, and they had a ton of great ideas. And Al and I spent several nights working late into the night, doing some major redesign, and I'm thrilled with what we've come up with. I think the game is definitely larger. It's some of the puzzles have changed. Quite a few of the puzzles have changed somewhat, not too much, but it's all in progress. I'm working on text, and I think Al and Paul are probably at E3 right now, but it's coming along great, and I think we've got great things in store. And it would just be the capper on the year, I think, if Jane does her project and we do Larry and you guys do the space venture. My God, what a year for adventure gaming! Just I am so psyched.
Amen to that.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love hearing you excited like that, Josh. It's really cool, especially given how our last days were when we were working together and how down we both were mentally.
Yeah,
it's so good to hear you. It's so good to hear you excited, and it's so good to hear our fans so psyched and just showing both of our projects so much love. All and Jane's as well, and Tex Murphy and everything. It's a big community, and the more things we can make happen, the better for everybody. We have a chance to do things without quote, big publishing. I like to throw that in because I usually hate it when they say big oil but anyway, it's just cool because fans have something to say. We listen to you guys. We're a lot closer because social media is a bigger factor now, and without you guys, we're nothing. And so it's great to hear the excitement when I talk to Al, when I talk to Josh about how Leisure Suit Larry is going. And
yeah, I just wanted to throw in also, Josh, Replay is just very fortunate to have you on board, and I know you guys are going to do an awesome job with that game. I can't wait to play it.
Thank you, and I can't wait to play Space Venture.
Yeah, and you guys don't really know. You guys don't understand how many cool things Josh did for us when Mark and I were kind of drained a little bit on things. And Josh, we'd say, Josh, could you do this for us? And we're kind of timidly asking him, and he'd go, sure, yeah, I'll do something like that. And he'd come back with this just awesome copy, like for instance, the Bargain Bin and the Galaxy Gallery. It just, exactly, the Loom. I love that, the Loom game.
Right.
Yeah, the
Boom,
stuff,
yeah.
your contribution is just a constant
so
source
many
of
ways.
laughter for us. So we really enjoyed
Yeah,
working with you on
definitely.
those games.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you
brought
guys
you
ins-
brought an element of
you guys-
happy of enjoyment.
You guys inspired me, so you know, you kept me inspired. So group hug, okay?
Okay,
group hug, yeah.
hug.
Mutual Admiration Society. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think we've concluded.
Great
No leg
stuff.
humping, Mark.
Well, no, Josh, thanks again so much for hanging out with us. This has been a
was
blast, and
very
I know the fans have
Kind of
enjoyed
you
it.
very kind of you to give your time to us.
My
Yeah.
pleasure, and I'm looking
Best
forward to
wishes.
see you guys go over the top.
Thank you, and best wishes to everybody at Replay, and you know, of course, you know, that you guys have something to look forward to because you got one of the best in the business on that project, and you've been listening to him for the last couple hours, so it can't miss.
Well,
Really?
great
Thank
stuff.
you, everyone. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks again for hanging out with us. And don't forget, about 40 minutes, if you want to listen to the Ellen McLean interview I'm going to be doing with her, who's going to be voicing a character in the game, voice of GLaDOS, amongst many other things. Please join me. GLaDOS from Portal. Sorry, I didn't say that. Please join me about 40 minutes. Also, help me spread the word because this is kind of short notice. It was kind of short notice for me too because she's a busy lady. But thanks so much, everybody. Appreciate you hanging out, and we will see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.